Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Skyrim Creation Kit tutorial video. In today's video I'm going to be taking a look at creating a crime system. So this is just going to involve setting up your very own jail cell in your very own city preferably, and basically if you commit any kind of crime, so if you steal, if you kill someone, just general assault, anything, you can be sent to your very own jail in your very own city or whatever setup it might be. Now, although I'm going to be creating NPCs in this tutorial, and that's going to include things like guards, I'm not actually going to go through how you set up AI packages and get them to do their daily sort of routines, their patrols and such. That's going to come in a video sometime after this one. So this one really is going to focus just on your jail setup so that the player is either sent to prison or sent outside of the prison, and it handles all of the other things linked with the crime system. So let's get started and open up the creation kit. Okay, so just for the purpose of this tutorial, I've gone ahead and created myself a small world space and gave an ID to the cell that I'm going to be using. I've placed 3 guys down who are going to be my civilians. They're going to be my test dummies, if you like. I'm going to be robbing them, beating them up, or even murdering them just to test the crime system later on. And I'll also have to quickly cover a couple of things you need to do to each of your citizens so they are linked to the actual guardhouse, the crime system. Now I'll cover that shortly. I've also created myself a guardhouse. I've quickly nav meshed this area and made sure that this is linked to the actual cell. Now I'm going to be covering a bit more about locations and stuff very shortly. If you don't know how to do the very basics of linking cells together and doing nav mesh, then I've got a number of other tutorials on my channel that you can go ahead and check out first. But I'm just going to go into my guardhouse first. Now obviously for this tutorial you're going to need to set yourself a jail up so you can design it however you like. You might want to put an actual escape route, which I haven't bothered with for this because it's not needed just to test this crime system. The essential thing that you're going to need is a bed inside of the prison, and really you don't need anything else, but obviously you'll probably clutter it like I have and put whatever else you want in there, like a chair or some food. And for the jail door, if you've already put one down, then you can just, move to that step. But I haven't, so I'm just going to quickly go under door, search for jail, and it's going to be that one for me. I'm going to put that jail door down. It can technically be any door that you want as long as it's not a load door. So I'm going to put that down there. Then you want to double click on your door. Then you want to go along to the scripts tab, click on add. If you get a warning you can just ignore it, yes to all. You usually get one sometimes. Search for jail and you should see the jail door script. Click OK. No need to fill any properties or anything. Click OK again. The next thing that we're going to need is a key, so I'm going to go under items and key. Any one of these will do, so I'll just call that DF127 jail key. Give it a new ID. Click OK, create new form. I'm going to double click on my door again. I'm going to go under lock, click on locked, and you can put this at any level, just don't select requires key, otherwise it might not work. And then I'm going to use adept. Don't need to worry about leveled. Key, just type in your ID that you just created. So I've got DF127 key jail. Click OK on that. Now the next thing I need is a prison marker inside of my actual cell. This is where you're going to get teleported, if you will, sort of sent to, the marker that it's going to send you to when you have committed a crime that requires you to carry out your sentence. So I'm just going to type in prison in the filter, go under door. It works as an actual door and it links to another door on the exterior which we'll have to place, so I'm just going to drag and drop that in. It's a weird green marker, so floor that, make sure it's placed in properly or you could end up in the void or somewhere else. I'm going to double click on that, put that to one side and have the teleport tab selected. Just going to ignore that for a moment. I'm going to double click on my yellow marker just to get quickly to my world space. I'm going to place another one down. Again, I'm going to floor that. So this is where you're going to get sent once you've paid the money for your crime. So if you don't get sent to prison, you have the other option of just being sent to the jail. They'll take any stolen goods and such. And this is the marker where it'll send you otherwise. Now the other marker has just got hidden behind these windows. If that happens, you can just click save. It won't actually save, but it will force this forward. Click on teleport, select reference, double click on the one we've got now, click OK. You'll get these yellow markers as you do when you create any sort of link. Just going to drop that down somewhere in front of it, double click on it to get back inside again. And I'm going to drop this one down as well. Now, like I said, I've also nav meshed the interior, which is going to be pretty important. And that's that. I'm going to have that placed there. The other thing you're going to need, so I need to just pop back outside again, is an X marker heading. So just type in X marker in the filter, go under static, X marker heading, drag and drop one of those in. This is going to be where your follower waits for you. So if you've got a follower following you, then they need to be sent somewhere to wait for you. And usually outside the prison is the ideal location. So I'm just going to give this a reference as well, just to make selecting it a little easier. Let's just put follower. Okay. I'm going to pop back inside. As you well know, when you go to prison, you have all of your items taken off you and any other stolen goods, and each of those go in 2 separate containers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in evid, or you can just type in evidence, go under container, under world objects. They already have 2 containers for this, the player inventory and stolen goods. So you want to drag and drop both of those in. Just going to put them next to each other. Nice and simple. The next thing you're going to need is a crime faction. Now this is pretty much the most important faction. So you go under character. Just going to tick these off out of the way. Click on faction, alt click and new. And I'm going to give this a reference. Now it is, you don't have to put crime in the ID, but it's going to help to know which faction is what. So I recommend that you just put crime in there. The name, I'm just going to put DF127 crime faction, but you're probably going to want to put something like the name of your town and then crime faction, because you'll actually get a notification, as we'll probably see when we test it later on. Comes up with a notification in the corner mentioning what faction you've got a bounty added onto if you do perform an assault or anything like that. Now under general, you want to click can be owner. And as for interfaction relations, you're probably going to want to add werewolves and vampires. I'm just going to put werewolves just to show you how to add one. And you can put whatever other factions in. So these are going to be factions that you're just automatically going to be enemies of, and you want to tick enemy. Because obviously if a werewolf walks into town, then guards are going to want to instantly attack it to protect the civilians. They're not going to want werewolves, like, well, only go after them once they've killed someone. That's not the way it works. So that's what you want to do there. Put any factions in that you don't want your guards to like. So it could actually be another rivaling town or anything like that. Ranks we don't really need to worry about. Nothing goes in there. It's not really used in Skyrim. And crime, this is where you can have a bit of fun. You can experiment a bit. But the basic things that you're going to want here are track crime, obviously. Now I've got the exterior jail marker, which we've already placed down. The weight marker for the follower, which we placed down. The stolen goods and player inventory containers, which are both there. You've also got a jail outfit. Now if you want to create your own outfit, you can go ahead and do that under items and outfit, or click new, and then you just drag and drop from item armors all of the things that you want in there. And it's not necessarily armor, you also get clothing items in. Give it an ID, confirm it, and then you could actually select your very own outfit there, which I'm not going to bother with. But that's how you do that if you want to do that. The other things, just keep these 2 things checked here. And if you just want to use the default values for crimes, you can click that box there, tick it there, which is what I'm going to do. But if you want, leave it unticked and fill in your very own sort of values here for how much it's going to cost you when you perform different sort of nasty things. The shared crime factions list needs to be crime factions list. And now I'm just going to select these references. So my exterior jail marker, I'm going to want to pop outside again. Select reference, double click that one. My follower weight marker, do the same again. And then I'm going to pop back inside for my other 2 chests. Got these stolen goods, I think that was that one, wasn't it? No. It's that one. So double click that one and that one. Now I think if you leave the jail outfit as none, it's probably just going to have your character completely stark naked. So you're probably going to want to search for the prisoner outfit, or whatever outfit you've made if you've made one. And I'm going to use the default values. No need to go into vendor, and that's that. So click OK. Now the next part of this tutorial, as I mentioned earlier, we need to link our jail to the actual location of the town, city, wherever it might be that you're setting your jail system up at. Now I still won't mention these guys just yet, that'll be in the next section of the tutorial. But this is quite easily done with locations. A lot of people don't tend to use locations, and most of the time they don't really have a reason to use locations. But if I just wipe the filter, go under world data, location there, you'll see all the locations in the game. This pretty much just keeps a track of IDs and also links different things together to make sure that things work with it. So as you can see, you get things like a parent location, and what it is we'll have a location that is for the city, and everyone's going to be linked to this location, all civilians are going to be linked to it, and the crime faction itself is going to be linked to this. So this is going to make more sense as we make it. So I'm going to go alt click and new. I'm going to give it an ID, DF127, location, I'll just put my town, name, my town, location. Now the parent location, the way this works is locations are all linked together. So you have the big main location, which is for Tamriel, and then within that you'd have, say, the Whiterun Hold location, and then within that you'd have locations for different sections of Whiterun. Now this is going to be a lot simpler. I'm just going to put my town under one location, which is linked to Tamriel, as most others are, and then I'll have a location for my interior cell for the guardhouse, and you'd have a location for each interior cell. So you could have one for the inn, one for anywhere else, or the people's homes, and then their parent locations will be linked to your main town. So everything just links together, sort of like a kind of a tree kind of thing. All the branches all linked together, if that makes sense. So you don't need to worry too much about understanding it as long as you set this up correctly. So my town's just going to have my town location. The parent location for this is going to be Tamriel. And then you can go ahead and set other things up like world location markers, horse marker references for where your horses stay at stables and such. But I'm not going to do that. I haven't got any of that set up. And the unreported crime faction, this is where our new created faction comes into play. So make sure it's your crime faction. Keywords, you can add whatever you like in here, but you just put in lock type and you'll get all the keywords for different location types. Keywords do all sorts of things. A good example might be a cleverly scripted follower might comment on different places, and they might be checking the location type, the keywords, to know what kind of place it is. I know that my own mod, the Chicken Returns, does this. It checks whatever the location type is. So if it's here and it's under, say, dungeon, he'll make a comment about how dirty the dungeon is or something like that. So it's pretty important to put location types in. The other thing that can use location types is actually the bard system. So if you're creating an inn, it might be a good idea to put the lock type in here. That's pretty important, so that the bard will actually sing there. Stuff like that. So for this is most likely just going to need town and anything else I wanted. So that's all I'm going to use here. I'm just going to put lock type town. And that's pretty much it for that. So I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to edit my world space. You can do that by alt clicking and edit like I just did, or you can actually go under world and world spaces and select your own in the list here. And under location, I'm going to need the one that I've just made. So it's DF127 location, my town. Go ahead and click OK. Just going to save that now. And like I said, the next thing we need is a location for the actual jail. So I'm going to create another one. I'm going to put this DF127 location jail. Just put location, jail location. And the parent location this time is going to be the actual town. So it's all linking together like I said. Now you don't need a reported crime faction, but what you are going to want again is the location type. So in this case it's going to be lock type jail, and anything else that you want in there. pretty much all we need though. And click OK there. And then I'm going to go to interiors in the cell window, find my jail, edit that. Again, you can go under world and cells and find it that way. I'll just find that a lot easier. Now the location is going to be the one that we've just made again. You can set other things like your acoustic space, music, image spaces, stuff like that. You want to make sure that can't travel from here is obviously ticked, otherwise you could probably just get out of your jail cell pretty easily. Under lighting, you can set all that up. And then the name, I've just put guardhouse. Encounter zone, you probably don't really need to change that. Owner faction needs to be your crime faction, so DF127 crime faction. Make sure it's under the faction ownership and don't set it to an NPC or anything. And you want to tick public area, otherwise the guards might get a little upset. And you can go ahead and tick OK. And that is pretty much the location linked with our jail cell. Okay, the next part is going to be the guards. Now, as I said, I'm not going to be covering how to set our packages up, how to get them patrolling, how to get them doing different things. That's going to come in a video sometime after this one. But what we are going to do is just get them linked up to the crime system and have them react as they should when you sort of perform different crimes. The first thing I'm going to do is, as I said, those civilians that I have. So you're going to want to, when you're creating your own actors, the general population, you know, your merchants and such, you're going to need to get them set up correctly. So just going to search for mine here. I've just made one and had 3 of them placed down. You'll obviously have more unique ones. But for each of these, you need to add the relevant factions. Now, what you can do is create a faction for your town, which is just going to be a basic setup faction. I'm not really going to bother with that, but I'd probably recommend that you go ahead and do so. And then you have all of your sort of civilians in that one faction and they can help each other out and defend each other and such. But all you really need for the crime system to work for the moment is our crime faction. So I'm going to add that under their factions list. You need to do this for each of them. Then under assigned crime faction, you put DF127 faction crime, your crime faction. And what that means is if you perform a crime against this citizen, then they should go and call for that guard, or they should actually have a bounty show up on this crime faction. So if you punch them in the face, then it's going to add the bounty on. If you kill them, then if there's any witnesses, it's going to add the bounty. And also the cool thing is you'll see that it works in that way as well. If you kill the one civilian and nobody else is there, it'll also wipe the bounty off of your crime faction if there's no witnesses left to witness the crime, which is really cool. So that's the one thing that you need to do there. Now we're going to create a guard from scratch. I've got a bit of a warning about the sort of face generation thing there. That's done just by selecting your actor and Control and F4, which I'm not going to bother with. I'm not too worried about the grey face bug. But I'm going to create a actor for my town now. You can create leveled guards. And I'm not going to go through that in this tutorial. I'm not sure if I will do one in the future. But leveled actors is a little more tricky. You just use like actor-based stuff. You can take a look at that yourselves, really. All I'm going to do is individual guards, or one guard, and just put duplicates of this guard around. That's a nice, simple way just to get the crime system set up. But as I said, you can do it other ways. So I'm just going to put guard 01. Calling guard 01. If you set them to essential, that's absolutely fine. Then they're not going to die and they are just going to act as normal guards. But as you know, you can actually kill guards in the game. So what I'll be doing is putting them as respawn. That's pretty important. Otherwise, when your guards are killed, they're not going to come back. But once you leave the cell after a certain amount of time and come back, they should technically respawn and be back. Now, unique is for if each guard's going to be unique, so say they have their own name and such. If they're unique, then you'll want to tick that and you're going to want to make different guards, different ID guards, different amounts if you do want it a bit more personalised. But in this case, I'm just going to use the same guard or two for this town. So actually, I'm just going to put guard. It's probably a bit better. So I've made sure it's respawn. You can set other settings, which I'm not going to go through. If you want detailed information on how to edit NPCs, then you can check out my detailed follower tutorial. That's a pretty popular one, and it covers pretty much everything you need to know about NPC creation. So go and check that out. But for this, I'm going to go under traits, and I'm going to just have a Nord race. Skin I don't need to worry with. The thing that you need to make sure of is that the voice type is a guard voice type. So I'm going to type male guard in here. Of course, if it's female, you've got the female guard, wherever that's gone. Should be a female guard voice in there somewhere. I'm just going to go with male guard. That's pretty important, otherwise the dialogue is not going to work for the factions, as you'll see in a moment. So that's set up there. Death items, you can do all this stuff if you really want. Stats, I'm just going to put mine at level 10, auto calculate the stats, and just select something basic. So just go with Civil War Soldier class. You can create your own classes. Again, you can check out my follow tutorial for that kind of stuff. I think I mentioned it in that anyway. But yeah, you can go and create your own classes if you want, but I'm just going to pick a default. Now, factions is where it gets pretty important. You're going to want the guard dialogue faction, obviously. So this will give them the actual dialogues for guards. They'll speak like guards and say like the whole arrow to the knee stuff. The other factions that you are going to need are is guard faction. If I can type. No, really, if I can type. There we go. So you're going to want is guard faction. You're going to want your own crime faction as well. And we're going to also need to create a faction for our guard. So I'm just going to put that to one side a moment. We're going to go under character and faction. Also, you'll want to add the faction for your town if you did make one, but I didn't make one, as I said. So I'm going to click new. I'm going to quickly make a simple faction here called guards. Name, guards faction. And you really don't need anything special here. You can tick can be owner if you want to, but you don't need to fill anything else in. This just puts them all in the same group, basically. And you can, as I said, put different things in. But they'll automatically start filling up in the members section. So click OK. I might need to just confirm this box. No, it's okay. That's updated. So I've got my guards faction that I just made, my crime faction is guard, and guard dialogue faction. Make sure the ranks are set to 0, which they should by default. The assigned crime faction is again going to be your crime faction there, which will show up. Relationships and such, you can do all this if you really want to. I'm going to go under AI. I'm going to put mine as aggressive, so they're not going to take any crap. I'm going to have my guards happy, and I'm going to make them foolhardy because you don't really want them running away. They need to help friends and allies, otherwise they're not going to react to you stabbing a civilian or anything like that. They're just going to turn a blind eye, although you might want your guards to do that. Everything else you can set up combat style if you really want. I'm not going to mess with that right now. As I said, I'm not going to go into AI packages. Inventory, this is pretty important. You're going to want to have some clothes on them. So you can probably just put a normal guard outfit on. I'll just select the Sun's outfit. I'm just going to put default sleep outfit on. Although it's pretty much going to take a specific mod to get the sleep outfits to work, but I usually just do that anyway. Then you want to add the key in, so the key for our prison. Now the reason you're doing this is obviously so they can access the prison cell, but also so that you can snatch the key off them. So what you'll see in a future tutorial is if I do show you how to do AI packages and stuff and patrols, you might want a guard to stop next to the door for a few seconds looking away, so you've actually got time to just snag the key off him, so you can actually use the key to escape. So yeah, make sure the key's in there. I'm also going to just give him a weapon of some sort, so a war axe, that'll do. And you can go ahead and do the rest if you really want, all the other settings, the faces and stuff, if you decide to have the helmet off. But I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm just going to make sure that respawn is ticked again, because sometimes that likes to untick itself. Click OK, and I'm going to find my guard, and I'm just going to drag him in. Now I'm going to have 2 inside of here, so I'm going to duplicate him, put them in there. Again, I've nav meshed. Make sure you are nav meshed or it's not going to go very well. And that's that. Now I'm also going to place some guards outside. I think I'll just put the 1 actually. So drag and drop him. Now you might notice this goes for pretty much any cell in Skyrim. Sometimes when you revisit a cell, half the stuff seems to have disappeared, so just hit F5 and that'll refresh. Little extra tip there. But I've got my guard there, I've got my civilians, they should all be part of the actual crime faction now, and if I had one, the town faction. And that is pretty much that. Now, like I said, I'll cover other stuff in a later tutorial, but for now I've just got guards in the relevant locations, the faction setup, the locations linked, and what we're going to do now is go in game and hopefully see all that working. Okay, so here we are in our nice little town.
Safe, I hope.
Got the guard here, hopefully you can hear the dialogue.
Heard there were wolves on the road up north.
So that's working nicely. I've got my 3 test subjects here, and I'm just going to try beating one over the head. Put my weapon down.
Stop right there.
I can pay off my bounty, or I can go to jail, or I can of course just resist arrest. I'm not going to bother with that one. I'm going to go to jail.
Guess you're smarter than you look.
Now if I set it up correctly, I could have a guard standing here facing away. I could kneel down. If my sneak's good enough, I could steal the key and break out. I might actually try that in a minute. And I can serve my sentence. So that'll just place me back outside. If I check my inventory, all I've got is a lockpick on me, foot wraps. And what I'm going to do is just try breaking out to start with. Probably going to fail, so I'll have to, I'll have to just serve my time. But if you break out, they'll get angry and they'll attack you. Just going to serve my time. So I've been placed back outside now. And what I'm going to do now is steal something from just inside here.
Trouble? You want? Why, you little filcher? You have committed crimes.
There we go. Someone's got angry eventually.
What say you in your defense?
And you can see that notification keeps showing at the top. That's why you're going to want to give your crime faction a better name than I have. Now, this time I'm going to pay my bounty.
Smart man. Now come along with us. We'll take any stolen goods and you'll be free to go. After you pay the fine, of course.
And that'll send me outside. And any stolen goods should now be gone. And if I go back in, that stuff is now in the evidence chest. And if we'd have managed to break out, we'd have seen that our belongings were in there as well. And that's it for this tutorial video, so I hope you found it useful. Please let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And also you can check me out on my social media, mostly Facebook, where I post a lot of stuff. And if you want to follow the rest of my work, you can visit www.darkfox127.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.